So what if I told you that most of us are actually sleepwalking through life? It's a pretty startling idea, right? But it's the foundation of this concept called Yaqzah, or awakening, from the classic spiritual text Manāzil al-Sairīn. And this isn't just some self-help trick. It's seen as the first, most critical step to a truly conscious existence. In this explainer, we're going to map out that whole journey. So let's dive right in.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the problem. This state of spiritual sleep that, honestly, many of us are in without even knowing it. Then, we'll talk about that jolt of awakening that can just change everything. After that, we're going to build a solid framework with 3 essential pillars to help us stay awake, find some practical tools to make them stronger, and finally, reveal the one master key that really unlocks lasting change. So, let's start at square one. According to our source, the biggest problem we all face is a state called Ghaflah, which basically means heedlessness. And this isn't some rare thing. It's described as the default setting, the starting point for pretty much all of us.
And that leads to a very, very direct question. One this text really wants us to ask ourselves right now. Are you truly awake? It sounds simple, but the answer, well, it goes a lot deeper than you might think.
This whole idea is summed up in this incredibly powerful quote from the Prophet Muhammad: "People are asleep." The source explains this to mean that without a conscious, deliberate choice to wake up, our entire life can be spent in this kind of dreamlike state, just going through the motions. We're here physically, sure, but spiritually, we might be missing the whole point.
The core analogy they use in the text is just wow. Imagine you're asleep in a dark, cozy room. That room, that's the material world. We get so wrapped up in our day-to-day lives, our jobs, our Netflix queue, our worries, that we completely forget the goal of our journey. We've forgotten that there's a world full of light and purpose waiting right outside the door.
But here's the good news. We are not destined to stay in that dark room forever. And this brings us to the solution, that huge first step out the door, the moment of awakening itself, which is known as Yaqzah.
So what is Yaqzah exactly? Well, it's defined as waking up from that deep, deep sleep of heedlessness. It's a sudden, and I mean sudden, jolt of awareness. It's that moment when you finally hear the call of your own conscience. You shake off the laziness, and as a verse in the Quran says, you stand for God. Now, a key insight here is that this isn't something we can just force on our own. It begins as a moment of grace. A spark of divine light just illuminates the heart. And in that one moment of total clarity, we see our situation for what it really is and realize, whoa, this isn't right. Something has got to change. Okay, so you've had that spark. You're awake, but you know that morning grogginess that can so easily pull you back under the covers? How do you fight that? How do you stay awake? The source tells us we need a structure, a framework. So let's get into the 3 pillars that form our roadmap to a sustained awakening.
And here they are. These 3 are so deeply connected. The first, gratitude, has us looking back at everything we've been given. The second, repentance, makes us look back at our own mistakes and shortcomings. And the third, time management, pushes us to look forward, to make the absolute most of the time we have left. See how that works? Together, they create this complete 360-degree awareness.
Let's break down that first pillar, gratitude. This is so much more than just saying thank you. It's this active, constant practice of remembering God's blessings. Not just the big stuff, but the air we breathe, the fact that our heart is beating right now. And here's the mind bender, realizing that even our ability to feel thankful is another gift we didn't earn. The only real response then is to just humbly admit we can never, ever be grateful enough.
The second pillar is repentance. And this isn't about just wallowing in guilt. The source uses this really powerful metaphor. Sin is like a chain. Every mistake, big or small, can become another link that weighs us down, that traps us, and keeps us from moving forward on our journey.
So what do we do about these chains? The text gives us this amazing concept called tashammer, which literally means to roll up your sleeves. I mean, how perfect is that? It shows that real repentance isn't passive regret. It is an active, determined effort to break those chains, to fix what was broken, and to make things right.
And this slide really shows the 2 paths, right? On one side, you've got the captivity of sin. You're trapped, you're weighed down, you're exposed to consequences. But on the other, you have the total liberation that comes through that active repentance, breaking the chains and returning to a state of mercy and freedom. It's a clear choice.
Pillar number 3 is all about time. And the text says we have to become stingy with our remaining moments. What a word, right? Stingy. It means we have to treat our time not like loose change we can just throw away, but like our last few dollars. We have to ask ourselves every single day, did what I do today move me forward or did it set me back? Not a single minute can be wasted.
So we have the theory down: gratitude, repentance, and time management. But how do we actually do this? In our messy, busy, real lives. Let's look at the actual tools the Source provides to build up and strengthen each one of these pillars.
For gratitude, the advice is to sharpen our minds with reflection so we can actually see our blessings. It means living with this expectation of goodness, always on the lookout for hidden gifts. And this is a big one. It means observing those who have less than us. Seeing someone else's hardship is such a powerful, humbling way to truly appreciate what we have.
Now, to strengthen repentance, it's all about a massive shift in perspective. First, really appreciate the sheer greatness of God. Because the greater he seems, the more significant any act of disobedience becomes. Second, recognize just how small we are in that comparison. And third, truly deeply believe in a day of accountability. That's what motivates us to fix our course now, while we still have the chance. And for managing our time like it's gold, the strategy is threefold. 1. Constantly seek useful knowledge so you actually know the right path to be on. 2. Respect and follow the rules of that path. And 3, this is crucial, surround yourself with good, motivated people. Their positive energy is like a shortcut to growth.
Okay, we've arrived at the final element. This is the piece that ties everything we've talked about together. It's the action that proves our awakening is for real, and not just some fleeting feeling. This is the master key to making it all stick.
But think about it for a second. You can feel that spark of awakening. You can understand the 3 pillars. You can even know all the right tools. But what if you do all of that and still miss the one step that makes it permanent? Without this last piece, all our efforts could just, poof, fade away.
And here it is. The master key is khal al-aadat, which literally means taking off the habits. The Source is so clear on this point. True, lasting change is absolutely impossible without directly confronting and dismantling our negative, ingrained patterns of behavior.
Here's the bottom line. Our soul gets comfortable. It gets used to laziness, to procrastination, to scrolling through endless, meaningless stuff. And awakening is only real when we prove it by breaking those patterns with a strong will. Think of it like this. If you're used to waking up at 10 a.m., the true sign of change isn't just wanting to wake up earlier. It's the raw act of forcing yourself out of bed at 6 a.m. That's will and action.
And that brings us to our final thought. We've gone from the sleep of heedlessness to the spark of awakening, through the pillars of gratitude, repentance, and time. But it all comes down to this one final active step. The real question isn't just, are you awake? It's how are you going to prove you're awake? It all starts with one small, intentional act. So which habit are you ready to break first?